Welcome back, dear viewers, and you're still watching the Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about the Ministries of Tourism efforts to promote for tourism, especially in summer as we approaching the vacations time, and many people are expected to move and visit Egypt and other countries. Also, the Minister of Tourism was participating recently in the ATM in Dubai, which is the Arab tourism market, and it is an important exhibition. We will try to know more about the significance of Egypt's participation in the ATM with our dear guest, Mr. Saad Ali Taha. He is a tour guide. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, sir, let's start by the participation of Minister of Tourism, Mr. Anani, and his participation in the ATM in Dubai.
Yeah, that was last week.
Yes.
When he traveled there, and this is very important market because we need to hit not only the foreign markets, also the Arab markets.
Yes.
So many countries participated in this exhibition or this market, and that was a very important to promote. So we offered what we have and all the procedures and the regulations that we did.
Yes.
And from time to time you can find delegations that goes from the tourism ministry to research all the hotels, even the Nile cruises, to make sure about that regulation and those procedures that going on due to the COVID-19. Many countries participated, and on the website of the Ministry of Tourism I have seen a lot of activities being done by His Excellency Minister Anani. As he is the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, so this is very important to gather these two ministers together, because the excavations and what was found in Luxor and Saqqara, everywhere in Egypt, we have a lot of missions working in excavation, even in summertime, regarding the heat and all, but they are still working there. And this helped a lot. As I have heard that Professor Dr. Zai Hawasi traveled to Saudi Arabia to search for Ramses III. This is very new for us that Ramses III have crossed the Suez Gulf to Saudi Arabia, and there is some.
Do we have any evidence that he moved to Saudi Arabia at that time?
Yeah, in a place we call it Tayma in Saudi Arabia. There are some inscriptions in hieroglyphics with the name of Ramses III there. Dr. Hawass, he said that it's a very promising place, and he's going to start the excavation. But due to, as you know, the weather in summertime there is hotter than here, so I think they are going to delay the work up to winter time. It's very good news, because when we had this, I mean, we can find groups, joint groups. They visit Saudi Arabia and Egypt, or Egypt and Saudi Arabia. As we used to have this type of groups when they visit the Holy Land in Palestine and Egypt as well. We used to have this type of tourism, and especially this tourism hit the old people that they are like to follow the religious places. Also, Egypt had been elected as the chief president of the Middle East Tourism Council, and that was about 3 days ago.
And what is the significance of this choice?
As you know, there is a head office international, I mean in United Nations, for tourism in general, the World Tourism Organization. This World Tourism Organization has branches, one in regard to Far East, and the other one in Europe, and the other one in America Latina, and in the Northern America, and here one in the Middle East. From time to time, they elect a president of or chief for this council or this organization, the regional organization. The regional organization here, Egypt been elected, and that will start in 2022. We will be for 4 years as a president of this regional organization.
Yes.
Due to the Egyptian position, because Egypt is very, very important in tourism. I think the oldest tourism known in Egypt, in the Middle East, was in Egypt. And that, according to the history of the tourism, started with one of the famous agencies, an English agency, is called Thomas Cook. And that was in 1870.
1870, when the first branch of this company opened in Egypt.
Opened and received tourists. At that time, the tourists traveled.
So Egypt is considered the first Arab country to receive
tourists as well. Of course, regarding if we can call the famous travel to pilgrimage in Mecca or in Medina as a but something religious.
Tourism.
It's a religious tourism. It's very different from what we are calling as tourism, culture tourism here in Egypt. And they used to travel in sailboats from Cairo to Aswan. Look at that lady who wrote a book about Egypt, Emilia Edwards, about the River Nile. She wrote a book called Letters from the Nile. And that lady who discovered the sun elevation, when the sun goes through the main door of Abu Simbel up to the statues there, that was discovered by her, by Emilia Edwards, who wrote this book about something due to 1920, 1922, when she traveled from, after the First World War, when she traveled from Cairo to Abu Simbel. In a month. That journey took a month, because it wasn't any steamboats at that time, was just a sailboat. Very, very adventurous, very nice book. If you it was translated into Arabic as well. Also, we knew about the tourism in Egypt since the first time, if I'm not exaggerated, because some of the princes, like that famous prince Haim Wasit, who was the eldest son of Ramses II. He traveled from Thebes or Luxor to Saqqara, and we have signed his name there in Saqqara. What was done recently when the Ministry of Tourism hosted the bloggers and the influencers who are working in social media, this is very important as well. We need to facilitate all the regulation for them to ease their work. I mean, they get their cameras and they start to film something about Egypt in different places. So we need to ease for them this regulation, because some of them, they are complaining about the how to get a permission to do some small films, small videos about Egypt, because they need to face some regulation and some routine. We need to facilitate this for them. Those bloggers, they have many followers, some of them some millions.
So we are talking about the bloggers who visited the Sharm el-Sheikh Museum in the past few days.
And they are intending
I think this is an important move by the Ministry of Tourism to invite them.
Very, very important, because as you know, social media in general playing a very essential role in our life nowadays. Anything you need, you have to, I mean, everybody here in Egypt, even in the villages as well, they use the social media.
So, sir, as we are talking about tourism in Egypt, we can't ignore religious tourism, as it is one of the distinguished types of tourism here in Egypt, as we have the path of the Holy Family and its journey to Egypt. And actually, Pope Tawadros II was leading a mass on yesterday, marking the anniversary of the entry of the Holy Family to Egypt. Now we can watch a report on Al-Maadi Church and one of the stops of the Holy Family during their journey in Egypt. So let's have a look. Welcome back, dear viewers. And we have just watched a report on Abu Sirga Church in Coptic Cairo, and it is considered one of the important stops by the Holy Family during their journey to Egypt. And as we are marking the anniversary of the entry of the Holy Family to Egypt, we are going to shed more light on the importance of religious tourism here in Egypt. How can we promote for it? And back to you, Mr. Ali, and what are the important stops in the journey of the Holy Family to Egypt?
The journey started in Bethlehem, close to Jerusalem, in Palestine, and then that journey was caused when the angel appeared for Saint Joseph, the carpenter, telling him, take the son and the mother to Egypt. During that time was a governor, Roman governor, who was called Herodes, and he wanted to kill all the boys who were recently born at that year. So Virgin Mary, Joseph the carpenter, they were worried about Jesus Christ when he was a child, and we call it the flight to Egypt.
Yes.
So it seems like when you are escaping from your enemy, you don't take the normal road. I mean the paved road and the known one. So it was a kind of going through the hills, through the mountains and the desert. That's why we have a lot of religious paintings that we call them icons, representing this journey. So sometimes you will find a painting represent Joseph the carpenter and the Virgin Mary with Jesus Christ riding a donkey, and Joseph the carpenter walking, holding a stick with the like kind of handbag. Another part from the journey, sailing in the River Nile. Another part is they are walking.
We have these paintings.
We have a lot of paintings. We call them icons. Icon, it's a religious painting, commemorate this journey. The different stops in the Nile Delta, we have so many, and in up to about that's Jabal el.
And now we can see the mountain of Tir, Jabal el-Tir.
Jabal el-Tir, the mountain of Tir in Minya. This is one of the stops as well, very important one. And all these places nowadays, when the place is being touched by the Holy Family, nowadays you will find a church, a monastery, at least a little chapel. Regarding, for example, around us in Cairo, we have what we call it Coptic Cairo. Coptic Cairo is a very important stop in this journey. Especially that famous church dated back from 4th up to 5th century AD. This church, called in Arabic language Abu Sirga, San Sergio, it's a very important one, and it has underneath cavern or crypt. They said that the Holy Family stayed in this crypt or in this cave, some like 6 months or something like that.
It's a long period.
And
they lived in this place.
They lived, and this place was a part of the Roman fortress. It's very intelligence of Joseph the carpenter, because those Roman people, they never will think that they are escaping in their house, because it seems like you are escaping from your enemy in his house. It's very, very important. The Egyptian people helped a lot in this journey, because they been suffering of the Roman people, especially you are talking about after the death of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The last Cleopatra was considered to be the last Egyptian queen. After that, Egypt get conquered in about 30 years BCE by the Roman people under the affairs of Octavius, and Egypt being as a kind of a state of the Roman Empire. Wasn't like that for a long time, more than 3,000, was an independence empire, but at that time being a part of this Roman Empire. That's why the Egyptian helped a lot the Holy Family when they escaped from Roman people in Egypt. Regarding this church, it's very, very important church, Abu Sirga or San Sergio. and it is a type of architecture, we call it basilica style.
Yes.
Basilica, it seems like, a rectangular shape with naves. Nave, like a specific place cut or divided by a row of columns. The central one, or the one in the center, is supposed to be wider and higher. And the roof of that nave in the middle, it has an arch form resembling the Noah's Ark, the famous ark that Noah invented to save the humanity. What we call it the second creation of the world.
As you are saying that it is one of the important stops, are we making any renovation works, developing this important stop to make it ready to receive tourists, and is it already receiving tourists or not?
That project is not a new one. I mean, realizing the different stops of the Holy Family. It's a very old project.
Yes.
But due to some circumstances, it starts and stops several times.
Yes.
But this time, I think we're going to finish it within at least maximum as a year.
I think the Minister of Antiquities was visiting in Al-Matariya, yes, Virgin Mary tree last week, as it is going to be marked as one of the important stops as well. Yeah,
Matariya is a very important site as well, not only for the Coptic religion. Also, as you know, in this program we've been talking about the discoveries that been done there.
Yes.
When they found a statue in the mud nearby this place. Very, very important Matariya, because it was considered to be as a center of the ancient Egyptian cult. And that was inherited by the Greek and the Roman people. It was named Iunu. Iunu means, I think from this word derived the word Ain that we use in Arabic language. Ra is the sun. That's why we call it Iunu. Ra became Ain Shams, or like that. That was considered to be as a culture center. I think all those people like Plato, like Aristotle, Pythagoras, all of them, they learned it there in Ain Shams and in the famous Bibliotheca of Alexandria. That's why we need to do our best efforts to get this place or this site back. And recently, as we know nowadays, the government in general, under affairs of His Highness or Minister of Antiquities, and also the President himself, taking care of this project, the project of renovating whole Cairo. They are going to start with the place of
Sergio Church.
Sergio's church is already renovated and reconstructed.
You said that it is the first stop.
The first stop of the, not the first stop, I mean the highlight.
The
highlight of these stops. This
because
first stop,
they stayed for a long time.
They stayed for almost 4 years. The whole journey.
Okay, 4 years?
4 years, almost 4 years.
In Egypt?
In the way coming down to up to Asyut, in a place we call it El Muharrak monastery or convent, and a place close to El Muharrak, Dronka. We are not sure if they stayed in Dronka or not, but that we are sure about El Muharrak. You are talking about 300 kilometers to the south of Giza to get to El Muharrak, and from Giza to the north about 250 kilometers to the Mediterranean coast, and then you are talking about more than 400 kilometers to get to Bethlehem. So they came, if you can imagine the map, to the northeast Bethlehem in Palestine. Then they get to the peninsula of Sinai, up to the Suez Gulf. In the north of the Suez Gulf, we have what we call it Farma or Port Said, and then they moved from this to Sakha, in a place we call it nowadays Kafr Sheikh, Governorate, and then they moved to the western side of the Nile Delta, and then they get to down to Cairo. We call it at that time was a fortress. We call it Babylonian fortress. They stayed in this church, that Abu Sirga church. And then from this to Maadi, a place nearby, Abu Sirga or Coptic Cairo. And then they moved to the south, up to passing by a place in Bani Suif, and then to Minya, and then to Asyut. There is a map talking about the journey, and you will find the way they took looks like zigzag way, not the normal one, because they've been followed by the Roman people. The Roman wanted to kill the baby at that time. I think was the help of the Egyptians. That's why in the Bible, Egypt being blessed in the Old Testament and in the New Testament as well. Egypt being blessed, as it was blessed on the Quran as well,
yes.
because Egypt was considered to be very important, and they played a very important role in Christianity. The oldest church in Christian religion in general is Egyptian. The first nun and the first monk is Egyptian. I think the nunnery and the monks started here in Egypt, and then we exported to the religious, the Christian world. Not only it came from outside, no. It goes from here to outside. We know that about San Bakhum or Bakus, that he is the first monk known. And the first nunnery, we have a nunnery in Sinai, we call it the Seven Ladies Nunnery, in close to St. Catherine Nunnery.
It is one of the stops also. In Sinai?
This place regarding to the Greek Orthodox, not the Coptic Orthodox.
Okay.
The northern part of Sinai, the western northern part of Sinai, that was considered to be a part of the journey. But as you are talking about not only the Coptic Orthodox, you are talking about Christian religion in general, with different sects. That's why we added St. Catherine to that religious place, because we are heading not only the Coptic Christian, we're heading Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, all the different sects of the religion, because we need to promote it like this to get more tourism. We used to have pilgrimage people, they came from Ethiopia. Ethiopia was a part of the Coptic church as well.
And I think there's a big Coptic church till now.
Yeah, myself, I have seen people
yes.
Coming from Ethiopia, wrapping themselves in a white dress, looks like the
yes.
Islamic pilgrimage, and they come to visit that Abu Sirga church, especially in the cavern. About 5-6 years
yes.
ago, I have seen
so we already have religious tourism.
We have religious
yes.
tourism, yeah. You have religious tourism, but that mixed, because Coptic church
needs to be more organized.
Coptic church
yes.
is very, very special church.
Yes.
It's not, nothing to do with Rome or with Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox or Armenian Orthodox. It's very different.
Style, yes.
We have our own Pope or
yes.
Patriarch. We have our own, it's the oldest tradition of the Christian religion here in Egypt. The closest one sect to the Christian religion as a pure religion here in Egypt. That's why we have a very special traditions and a very special rituals in the Coptic religion. But as this journey, it's not only for the Coptic people, it's for the whole world, the Christian world. That's why we need to extend it to or export it to the whole Christian world, especially those people who come from America Latina. There are a lot of people.
Yes, so this is my coming question to you. What kind of tourists and from which countries are interested in this kind of tourism in Egypt?
In Latin America, those people are very close to our tradition.
Yes.
They have something similar to our Oriental tradition. Those are very religious people. From Mexico, from Argentina, from Panama, Peru, and so on. Those people, they used to come to visit the Holy Land in Palestine, and then St. Catherine Monastery, and then the Coptic church is here. They didn't follow exactly the Holy Family bath, but they visited the highlights, because if you want to follow the bath of the Holy Family, you need
25 stops, I think.
You need a couple of weeks to cover all it. That's why it will be a bit difficult. That's why we booked.
You have to tour the whole country.
Yeah, we do in the touristic programs. We bought some highlights of this bath, like the mentioned one in Abu Sirga, or the cavern, and also the San Macarius Monastery in the road to Alexandria. This is very important stop. Also, the one in Alexandria, the very famous monastery there in Alexandria, we do. I used to work with this, as I speak Spanish language, I used to guide those people who come from Latin America. Sometimes we start here in Egypt, and then we drive them to Taba, then to the Holy Land, or vice versa. We receive them from Taba, and we start with St. Catherine, and then to Cairo.
Mount Sinai, of course.
Mount Sinai, of course, because it's very important one regarding to Jewish and Christian religion, because they consider this mountain where Moses received the 10 Commandments.
Yes, so now we'll have a look on one of the important stops in Asyut, Deir al-Maharra. Let's have a look on it.
The area of Deir al-Maharra is the most important of all the Holy Family stops in Egypt. It is called the second Beit Lahem, for the Holy Family settled there for 6 months and 10 days. It was at this place that the Lord's angel appeared to Joseph the carpenter to command, "Get up, take the boy and his mother, and return to the land of Israel, for those who have been after the boy's life died." The most famous shrine of Deir al-Maharra Monastery is the Virgin Mary Church. The altar of this church is the same house in which the Holy Family dwelled during their 6 months and 10 days stay there. This archaeological church enjoys a unique privilege no other church on earth has. Namely, it is the lone church initiated by Jesus Christ himself. The initiation rituals of the Virgin Church are repeated in a ceremony commemorating the event on the 15th of November every year. Another attraction of the church is the stone on which Jesus Christ had slept, and which became later the main altar of the church, which was in hieroglyphic the ancient Coptic language inscribed at the reign of Queen Helena, according to the book of Pope Theophilus, The Flight of the Holy Family to Egypt.
Welcome back. And as we have just seen now Deir al-Maharra, and it's located in Asyut, and it is also one of the important points that was visited by the Holy Family. So can you tell us more about this Deir al-Maharra?
Yeah. According to the Coptic Christianity Church, this is the last stop to the south.
Yes.
Then from there, they start to go back to Jerusalem when Herodes died.
So it was the last stop.
Yeah. By the way, yesterday was the anniversary and there was a big celebration
Yes,
in Abu Sirga church,
and also the Pope celebrated
the ceremony there. And this is the first time, because due to the COVID-19, the ceremonies was all cancelled. It was only for the bishops and the parishes and the bishops of the churches. This is very important monastery, Al-Muharrak, and it has a very old church. And during the excavation was done there about a couple of months or 3 months ago. They have found in one of the walls a hidden, like little vase full of different coins, between silver and golden coins being found there close to the monastery. I have been there a couple of times to Al-Muharrak. There are a lot of churches, not only one church. One of them is very old, maybe dated back to the 7th century AD. In this church is still some icons, very old icons, and some of those icons being moved to the Coptic Museum. We have a museum talking about the Coptic history in close to Al Muallaka Church, or the Hanging Church. It's very important. One was constructed in 1910 by one of the Coptic people here in Egypt, was called Semeka Basha. Something very important regarding this museum. The facade of the museum is a copy of a facade of one of the mosques in Al Mu'izz Street, Al Akmar Mosque. They got the same architecture design and the same decorative design to use it as a facade of the Coptic, museum. It's very interesting when we know about this, because the tolerance and the convivence, they live together, the workers. If you go to a mosque or a church or even a synagogue, the same type of decoration. The difference, you will find the cross shape in the in the church, and you will find a Star David in the the synagogues, and also you will find what we call the star dish or the crescent in the mosque. But the same workers been working. For example, in the Islamic Art Museum in Bab al Khalq, close to Ataba Square, we have some objects done by Coptic people, the artists and artisans, Coptic people. They've been working for the mosques and the palaces and so on. That's very important. Al-Muharrak, it's very, very, very important place, and they consider one of the highlights of these stops of the Holy Family when they flight from Jerusalem to Egypt. Let's say this is
so when do you expect this project to end, the project of reviving the path of the Holy Family?
Due to the regulation and the routine, because it's not only the the Ministry of Tourism working in this, the local organizations in each governorate was responsible about this big project, because you are talking about at least 10 different governorates. And in each governorate they have their own projects and special things. If you are talking about the infrastructure and the paving roads and all this, so it will take time. I think within a year will be prepared. Especially the highlights, as I told you before, it's very difficult to realize the whole path. Because you need time. And if you are talking about foreign tourism, they have certain time, maximum 10 days here in Egypt, and they need to cover the whole thing. Not only the religious places, also they need to know about the ancient antiquities and the museums.
And it is also worth mentioning that Pope Benedict has included the holy path, the family's holy path in Christian pilgrimage, right?
Yeah, that's a very important topic, because this will help a lot in promoting this, especially to get more foreign tourists.
Yes, finally, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Saeed Taha, tour guide. Thank you for this precious information.
Thank you. Thank you.
And by that, viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of The Breakfast Show. Thank you for watching.